Okay, this is lesson 18, day 1. We are just doing more practice with writing piecewise functions. So as a review, we can do this using our calculator. You work with it from left to right. You can use your L1 and L2 to come up with your equations and work your way through. We are starting, so again, you always have the steps right here to look at. We're starting with this first one. We're focusing just on linear versions right now. Utilize your endpoint. So as we start on the left side, we've got this endpoint and this endpoint for that particular line segment. I make a table. The first endpoint up here is -5, 2. And then this endpoint, -3, 0. You can choose to do this one at a time and get your equations, or do it all at once. If I move to the next line segment, I now have a left and right endpoint, starting with where I left off. And then my other endpoint up here, x is 0, y is 3. So I'm going to do it all the way through, get my points, and then actually build my function. So next one. The first endpoint is where I left off. Second endpoint at this other end, 3, -3. And then the last one, starting with where I left off. To the other end. Alright, so if I'm writing the name of this function, it's piecewise. I can see that it's in pieces. Making myself a bracket large enough to accommodate the situation. Coming to my calculator. My first table, stat and edit. I'm going to clear out L1 and L2. So my L1, -5, -3, L2, 2, 0. Linear regression is stat code 4. So I have -x minus 3. So it looks like -x minus 3. Alright, and then these right here tell me my interval. I started at -5, went to -3. This is the first time I've used it, so I'm putting the equal sign with the -3 while I wrote it down here. So next, coming back to my calculator, my next table. Endpoints are, let's go this way, -3, 0. So the nice part, the -3, 0 is already in there. I can choose to just input my other point in place of the -5, 2. It'll still work. Stat count 4. Looks like 1x plus 3, or just x plus 3. Alright, so again, I'm starting at this -3, but I've already been equal to it on my last line, so I can't be equal to it again. And I'm ending at 0. It's the first time I used it. So these are not like our maximum and minimum points. These are telling me where these start and end, so it's okay to do it like this and actually have, as long as there's only an equal to and only one position, it's fine. Alright, so next. The 0, 3 I need. The other point was 3, -3. So -2x plus 3. And then for my interval, I already have the 0 going to 3. So 0 less than x less than or equal to 3. And my last one. Alright, so the 3 3, negative 3 is already in there. I need to add in the 5, negative 2. So it looks like I had some decimals, so what I'm going to do, start fresh just to make sure, because then I know that I did it right. Alright, so I got the same thing. It looks like 0.5x minus 4.5. For the sake of having a slope, I know 0.5 is the same as 1/2. So then I have the slope in a way that's usable, and I start at 3 and at 5. If you can't tell just by looking, you always can type it. In math, choose option 1. That right there, written in black, that is my piecewise function, including its intervals for that particular graph. So that's all that we had to do on that one. Moving to our next page. Okay, so they've already divided up the lines for you and in color. I know your page doesn't have it. Concept's the same. Pick and choose your endpoints. And then you do your set count 4 for each set and write them out. Where do I start? Where do I end? So noticing my 0, 0's down here. Need 1, 2, 3. Negative 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Other endpoint, 1, 3. All right. So moving to the next one. So starting where I left off. Here's the other endpoint. 3, 7. Switch, I get to start at the 3, 7, the other endpoint, 5, 7. Last interval, start at the 5, 7, end at 10, 2. Okay, so at this point, I am ready to utilize my calculator and get my equations. So I'm going to pause this, you put them in, and then compare it when you're done. Alright, so if you've just finished putting these all through, you would find these 4 equations for those particular intervals. And again, they match off what you had from your tables, and just don't repeat. It can be equal in 2 places at once. Another one. Okay, we're starting our endpoints. So this is another one just like what we did. Again, I want you to pause it, work this all the way through yourself, and then check it. Alright, so in the first segment in purple, I figured out the 2 endpoints, put them in L1, L2, stack up 4, gave me negative x minus 6 for that interval. Then the red came second, and you'll see I left it as 1.5x instead of changing it to a fraction slope. Either of them is correct. I just always typically prefer the fraction myself, then it's ready to be graphed because I know how to graph the lines without needing the calculator, but you always can use your calculator. And then your last set in green, L1 and L2 from the endpoints, negative x plus 4. So I wanted to have time to do this example with you. You'll notice we have arrows on the blue and on the green. So those are going to actually continue. We also have open circles. We're going to do the process the same, just making some extra notes for ourselves. So for the blue line, I'm going to use my open circle and this point right here. Okay, so my open circle, its coordinate, -4, 0. And I'm making notes to myself. This one I need to have open when I go to do my intervals. And then my other point, I don't even use an endpoint. That's okay. I don't have to do that. So I'm going to stick with how I did it so I don't get confused like on my paper. Just any 2 points off of that line. Choose -5, 0. Or sorry, -5, -1. And then I need to remember that while this is closed, it has to continue forever in that direction. And this one I'm also, just to keep track because of the pieces, I'm going to go ahead and start working. Okay, so we're going to go type this in, L1 and L2. So it's telling me it's 1x plus 4. It's 1x plus 4. When it comes time for our intervals. Alright, so I can think to myself, okay, it was open at -4, but showing numbers moving in this x direction, that's less than. So any x less than -4. I don't want an equal to because I needed an open circle. Moving to the red. I have a nice closed circle down here. That point is -4, -3. This one's not continuing in any way, so I'm going to use my 2 endpoints. The other one is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 7. So again, I'm going to do this as we go in pieces. Is 2x plus 5, and I know they were both closed circles. So that means it's from -4 to 1. Both of them have equal signs because they're closed circles. And my last one, green, I'm going to do like I did on the last one. I'll use my open circle, which is 1, 2. And I'll make my note that that had to be open. And then I'll just pick another point. About 2, 1, and then I remember this is closed, but having to continue in this direction. Putting it into my calculator. All right, -1x plus 3. So I'm starting at x equals 1, and then I can see I'm moving in this direction. They're getting bigger, so that means it's any x greater than 1, and I'm not using the equal sign because I had that open circle. And that is this problem done. So if we take a look at the homework page, you have to start on this page. You have the instructions again, 2 examples of the exact same thing. Finding the start and end points, and then onto the back of the page, we have one more where you've been given the equations and you have to graph it as a review from the last time and some cumulative review. Today I'm going to be nice and I'm going to tell you your assignment is to just do numbers 1 through 3. Have at it. Good luck. See us if you have questions.